What's up gamers, and welcome back to another RiftGuides WildRift video. We have taken a little bit of a break and played some legendary QOTD legend now, and it has been a wild ride. It has been mental torture, but we made it happen, and we are a legend. We were the 3rd or 4th player on the server that got legend, so yet again, as per usual, giving you the best information from the highest elo perspective. But for today, we are going to take a look at the first look, or rather the patch 4.0b patch rundown. But before we get into it, let's talk about our question of the day. What changes do you want to see next patch? Let me know in the comments below. First up, we have Jarvan default, and we have changes to his second ability. The cooldown of the ability goes down by 2 seconds overall, and the scaling is touched a little bit. The base value of the golden Aegis shield goes up, but the scaling goes lower, which makes it a little bit stronger early game, but significantly weaker late game. The interesting, or rather big question about this change is, Jarvan's second ability will be leveled up the latest. So what do they want to accomplish with this? For an ability that you level up the latest anyway by giving it more potency in terms of raw stats, but removing the scaling when you already hit a point later in the game where you've already scaled. I don't really see the sense behind this, but maybe it allows other people to max W for the second time, or for the second earliest. I don't really know what that's supposed to do, but I don't think it does anything. For Misfortune, we have also a slight adjustment, which is also a copium buff. The double up base damage goes up by 10. What is going to happen with this? Not much. It's 10 damage on a spell that's very unlikely to hit most of the time, and it's not really going to do too much in the game. It's just a nice buff to make the champion appear buffed, so people can say it's buffed. Nothing much will change here. The change for our next champion though is a massive one, and it's Senna. Senna's first ability, Piercing Darkness, gets a new ability bonus effect. Enemies hit are slowed by 15% plus 0.1% of the bonus attack damage, and also some ability scaling, but nobody cares about really ability power on this champion, honestly. And the slow lasts for 0.75 seconds up to 1.5 seconds. And if you go with the Senna build I've been using all the time in the late game, your spell will have a less cooldown than 1.5 seconds in a teamfight scenario, so the enemy team will constantly be slowed by your champion. That is if you have the Warrior Quick Plates and the Runans and are allowed to hit 3 champions at the same time. This champion will be crazy, even more crazy than it already is. The next change comes to Yasuo. It's a change to the cooldown of his third ability. Sweeping Blade's target immunity cooldown goes down from 8 seconds per target to 5 seconds per target as you level up the spell. Now we move over to the champion NERFS. Caitlyn is a dominant laner, and to combat that a little bit, Caitlyn's base damage is going on from 58 to 54. But overall this is not gonna be the difference maker, because Caitlyn will still be very oppressive in lane, just a slight tad less. It's not going to be the difference, so don't worry, Caitlyn will still be fine if you play well. But usually if you want to play Caitlyn, I can always, literally always, just suggest that you go with an enchanter. Especially for example a Lulu or a Karma, something really oppressive, or something that allows you to scale brutally into the later stages of the game. For this patch we have also a champion that is way too overtuned with Camille, and most of the time Camille in the jungle, because in a jungle role nothing can really contest Camille, because she can just safely scale up and gank whenever she pleases. Once she is level 5, it's gonna be a deadly experience for the enemy. And for securing objectives, all she has to do is use a tactical sweep ability and then smite and combo, and all objectives will belong to her. To deal with this, Riot is going to nerf the healing of the outer edge from 50 to 40% and the bonus monster modification from 100% damage to 50% damage. With this, you might be able to contest some smites now. The next nerf comes to a champion we all hate to see. It's Yuumi. Yuumi has been the bane of existence for most of the dragon laners, and finally we see some changes to it again. Her first ability's bonus enhanced damage from the current life goes down. Also, the mana cost is going up, and the adaptive bonus force from her second ability is also going down. Will this kill the champion? Sadly no. We'll still have Yuumi's run rampant in the game, because it's just such an annoying champion to deal with, and it makes laning very problematic, because punishing a Yuumi is most of the time related to the Yuumi making a grave mistake. But if the Yuumi just AFKs on the host, nothing really is going to happen, and if you get to scale because you can't punish the Yuumi, Yuumi will take over the game with a host of her choice. Most of the time an AP champion, and if that happens and you have an AP champion with a Yuumi, they'll one-shot you. Great. Nerf me some more, thank you. The last nerf for this patch comes to Zed, and it's for Zed Jungle. Shadow Slash, Zed's third ability, now deals 60% damage to monsters. What's the reason for this? I have not seen Zed perform very well in the jungle unless he was snowballing, which is most of the time related to the enemy making mistakes. And not genuinely to Zed being a very broken pick in the jungle role. He is far superior in the mid lane, so I don't really know what this is supposed to do, but well, here we are, probably just nerfing something according to numbers. Now let's move over to the system changes. We have changes to the Locket enchant. Since the Locket of the Iron Solari item got changed to only magical damage, this item lost a lot of value and is barely built anymore. However, in the past the item's cost was increased because it was too broken. Now, to deal with this, the cost is going back down to the original value of 500 gold, but will the item be bought? Not really, unless there's severe magical threats on the enemy team, otherwise this item is not going to do anything. So well, it's a niche buff when you really need it. Another change comes to the recently reworked item Randuin's Omen. The pre-mitigation critical damage gained as determination bonus has been increased for both melee and ranged champions. It's a nice change if you play into full crit composition or threats that are only crit based. Really nice item for those kind of things. The next change comes to an item that has already been over-buffed. Well, technically over-buffed because the item is cracked, absolutely cracked. I'm talking about Spirit Visage. The ability haste of the item goes up from 10 to 20, and the cost goes down from 2,900 to 2,800. So this item increases healing taken, shielding taken, gives you 20 ability haste, and costs so little gold. This item is broken once you face 2 AP champions or have innate healing on your champion, so you can utilize this. It's going to be crazy with a Soraka on your team. Another change comes to an item that is barely built due to its niche usefulness, Banshee's Veil. The cooldown of the Banshee's Veil is most of the time too high for the mobile pace, so it is what it is. But with this patch, the cost goes down from 3,000 gold to 2,800 gold. The next interesting change we see is a change to Pathfinder. It's regenerating health per second up to 1.5% now. The issue with this rune is it only regenerates one part, health or mana, depending on what's the lowest for you. So the usefulness of this rune is oftentimes actually not that powerful, but if you combine it with the buff to Second Wind that comes after this, you might have some interesting combination of runes now. Second Wind's missing health recovered over 5 seconds goes up from 1.5% to 2%, and therefore for melee champions from 3 to 4%. Now, the real issue with Second Wind is not that the rune itself is bad, it's just that bone plating got severely overbuffed. Don't forget, bone plating now blocks the damage from the attack triggering the bone plating, which means, for example, for the Dragon Lane incident, if a Karma uses her Mantra first ability into the enemy champion, the entire damage of the Mantra's first ability will be reduced, including the Airy rune. Therefore, it will deal barely any damage, and that is most of the time enough to just not skill it. And this is the same problem for Second Wind. The rune is really strong, but bone plating is just superior, and you're most of the time pigeonholed in one of those, so there you are. Maybe nerf bone plating instead of buffing alternatives. That is the way to go from my perspective. And now, last but not least, we have an adjustment for Morgana. The Black Shield's base value goes down, and the scaling goes down. At least in the early stages of the game. But there's a kicker about this. The cooldown of the ability goes down by 2 seconds from the highest to the lowest ability, and the duration also goes down from 5 to 4 seconds. The real question here is, why are we even touching Morgana? What is the problem with this champion that we need to touch it, and why are we touching the spell shield? I don't really know what's this supposed to do, but all of the changes this patch, apart from a few selects that are only in the nerf department, don't make any sense to me. So, well, that is it for today's video, and if you enjoyed the video, let's leave a like and come back for more, sub to the channel, and obviously, see you in the next video. Goodbye, gamers.